Mr. Paddy Smith from Red London. How, Paddy?
Good afternoon.
You all right?
Aye, mate, class.
Obviously, you've been coming in here 40 years-ish.
Aye.
And been around, yeah. And you come back in again now. You've seen plenty of things. And there's a few times I've seen you out and I've said, I'd love to have a big chat with you. So thanks for coming in.
No
Much
problem,
appreciated.
anytime.
I know you've got a wonderful story and you've got a wonderful heart, and I'm hoping that comes across. So looking forward to it. So I want to take you all back. I've seen some footage before, some interviews talking about life growing up as a kid and how you weren't really encouraged to get into music and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about those early days as a lad, you and your brothers.
What, believe it or not, right? People say to me all the time, "Who's your favourite band?" And I think people expect us to say something like the Clash or the Jam.
Yeah.
But it goes back before that. I loved Sparks. Something for the Girl with Everything. This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us. Them sort of songs. And people were like, "Hey, how can he be into that sort of stuff?" Well, I was. I mean, like, I love classical music.
Yeah.
I love all sorts of music. But when I was a kid, growing up, the first band that I really got into was Sparks. And, you know, the 70s, we had like Mode, Shawari Wari, all that sort of stuff. That didn't really float my boat. Sparks was me thing. The first album, Propaganda, one of the best albums ever. I suppose that was like 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
If you listen to that album today, it would still stand out as well as it did then. I think a band like that was just probably very underrated, you know. Right. But, so I was into that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, 77, punk came along.
Yeah. And how old were you?
I was 16. I was 16.
Right, okay.
So I was 16, Steve was 15, and basically, were sort of like, I don't know, do you know a lad called Tony Ruff? He used to be in a band called the Troubleshooters.
Okay.
I know there's a few bands called the Troubleshooters, but it was a band from Sunderland called the Troubleshooters. And I used to nut around with a lad called Tony Ruff. And his brother used to bring in all these imports like the Ramones.
Right.
Never heard of them. Richard Hell and the Voidoids, you know, and bands like the Saints, you know, stuff from like outside of the UK, you know. And I used to go to Tony Ruff's house on a Tuesday, and he used to have this massive pile of records. He said, listen to this. And it was like, we were like listening to the Damned and the Pistols and the Clash in the UK. And like, his brother sort of got me into like the Ramones and different bands like Television, you know, American bands, you know, and it was like Iggy Pop, Stooges. It was like, freaking hell, this is wild. You know, all right, the Pistols were like right out there doing their own thing, but the music, what was coming out of the States was just like on another scale, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you could almost think that it was the Pistols were tame to what we were listening to, I mean. And then all of a sudden, the Ramones did a tour, and they played at City Hall in Newcastle, and we were like just there. And it was brilliant, you know? It was like all seats at the time, and they had like the Dickies were supporting them. Right. You know, I mean, the Dickies played at Rebellion last year when we played there, you know. It was just amazing. I mean, I always remember the bouncers at Newcastle City Hall, they were like the medallion man, you know. They get medallions on here. And basically they were getting their fucking heads kicked in by all these punks. They just couldn't handle it, you know. The seats were getting smashed up. It was just, you know, when Joe Strummer used to be like twisting on, like, stop the spitting, we're going off stage. Like City Hall, they're ripping the chairs up and chucking them. It was just like a riot, you know what I mean? And like stuff like that really sort of like, well, you know, I've been into Sparks for years, sort of thing. And now all of a sudden I'm into this sort of stuff. It was just like, it just opened a massive avenue for me.
So what was it like? What was the relationship like with your brothers?
Steve, so Marty, my younger brother, he was like, he looked like Sting. He scared all the birds. You know what I mean? Quadrophenia, that sort of thing, right? He had a scooter. He was probably the first mod.
So he was a mod, right?
He was the first mod in Walker, where we lived, you know what I mean? And he used to be bombing around on his Lambretta with the Union Jack side panels. You know? He did. He was like the Ace Fierce, I've got to say, you know what I mean? And Steve, he was into like punk. You know what I mean? And I was into punk. He was into punk because I was into punk. So like, basically, you had like the Rebels, and they had a song called Red Alert. And Steve said to me, he says, we've got this band, him and Tony Frater.
Yeah.
Talked to you guys, we've got this band. They were called Sheer Radiation at the time, before they were called Red Alert. And he goes, we've got this band there, and we were like looking for a name for them. And I just says, well, what about Red Alert? That's how the name came, because it was a Rebels song, Red Alert. So we had Red London, Red Alert, two brothers. And basically, Marty was just out there doing his own thing. My sister, don't know what she was doing. She was just doing her thing. She was just too young. And it was just me and Steve. Yeah. And I'll always remember this. Tony Roth, brother, lent me all these records, right? I don't know how... Like,
all these imports that he'd got.
All these imports, right? He lent me all these records, right? And at the time, right, so we had like Red London. In fact, Red London weren't even called Red London. We were called the Street Boys. And we had this gig coming up at the... East End Community Centre. It's like the orphanage.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They used to have like a carnival on the field.
East End Carnival,
there.
Yeah.
Aye, right. So Red Alert were on the bill, right? And so we the Street Boys, right? And we never played, but we were working the set out. We didn't have any of our own songs. It was just like all covers. You know what I mean? Did some Clash, did some Pistols, Pretty Vacant. And basically, I was lent these records from this lad, so I was trying to like work the lyrics out to like, I think it was like an Iggy Pop song, No Fun, which the Pistols covered, right? And while I was like trying to get the lyrics, and I must have wrote the lyrics down and just put them in my top drawer in my bedroom, right? And my mother, while I was at work, my mother had went in to like, do the hoovering and I don't know, went in that top drawer for whatever reason, seen them lyrics, right? Thinking, oh, what's this? Start reading them lyrics, swear words and everything in there, like. And I came in, because at the time, I was 16, I used to work at Thompson's Park, I was a gardener. And I came in for my tea, and I just seen the lyrics on the table in the kitchen. And I says, oh, what's these doing here? And she went, well, you tell me. I found them in your top drawer, in your bedroom, and it's got all these swear words on. She says, is this what it's me and your dad have brought you up all of our lives? Is this what it's became? She says, your bedroom, you've got punk rock pictures all over. She says, I just don't know what's going on. She says, you're the talk of the street. On the weekend, you go on it, you've got red dye in your hair, you've got this, your brother's just the same. With Steve, we went bondage trousers and all this sort of stuff, Anyway, basically, she says, when your dad comes in, because Kenny, at the time, well, we still are, but, well, my dad is, but we're like staunch Catholics. Right. My dad, I went to Catholic school, they went to St. Thomas Aquinas, I went to St. Aidan's, you know what I mean? And, like, dad, flipping hell, then, like, he would probably put a fiver in the flip and just come out for the box. Some people put a few shekels in. Before he used to put a fiver in, he thought the flipping Pope was the best thing since sliced bread. Well, we just didn't say that. You know what I mean? I was wearing a T-shirt saying Jesus died for his own sins. Can you imagine what that done? My father, he ripped it off me back. He thought it was blasphemy. Anyway, so he comes in from work, my father, and so everybody sits down for the tea, like, my father goes, what's this? My mother, Paddy, push this. I think you need to read this. Reads it, right? He looks at me, he goes, suppose this has got something to do with you, is it? I didn't even know why he said me, right? Suppose because I was yours. Suppose this has got something to do with you, is it? And I went, aye, I said, I'm in a band, we've got a gig on Saturday. You're in a band, Bang! Punched us. He broke me freaking nose. He goes, get to your room. I says, I'm 16-year-old. I'm working, I've got a job. He says, I didn't give a fuck. Got it. He rove. I'm not kidding you, Kenny. He rove it to bits, shredded it, right? In fact, he came running upstairs, right? He ran in my bedroom. I had pictures. Bizarre. I almost told the same story at Rebellion when we did the talk for Steve, right? He ran in my bedroom. I had pictures of the Jam, the Union Jack courts on at in London, House Parliament. And there was some pictures of the Clash. And I was really into fishing, like I was telling you last night. Right. I was really into fishing. I had like massive poster of all these sea fish And he just ran in the bedroom and started riving the posters. First he saw the picture of the clash, wrote that, and he was riving it with his teeth, and he was like fucking lunatic. Then the Jam one went, the journey, and then he goes, what's this? It just says British Sea Fish. He rubbed that off the wall as well. He was like a fucking madman. Anyway, all this commotion was going on, right? And I looked out the window, and our Steve was just coming in, been doing his paper round, right? And he ran out of my bedroom, my father, and ran into our Steve's bedroom. And he goes, what the fuck's going on in here? Started smashing all the records up. Well, our Steve had lent our Steve them records I got off Tony Wolf's brother, right? And he got them. I was like, didn't touch them, they don't mind. They're like imports, you know. And he was like, didn't touch them. Anyway, just chucked them down, right? I said, oh, Steve, me dad's smashing your bedroom up, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Steve comes up, he says to me, father, what the fuck's going on in here? And then there was a massive argument there, right? And, you know, Steve left home for like 24 hours. He went to sleep underneath a pigeon ducket. Real weird. But it had come back because he had a tin of beans and he had nothing to open it with. But that was our story. My dad was so Catholic, and it just wasn't the way.
I mean, had you grown up? Had you had that strict?
Really,
had that caused you to rebel a bit?
Well,
did you respect him at all?
Do you know what? There's not a lot of people know this. There's one or two people do know. My dad was one of the first millionaires in Sunderland, right? He worked hard all his life, working class. He worked in building, and then so he was doing government grants. Yeah. So around this area, it was Polytechnic. Right. Yeah. You know, you had a lot of immigrants coming in. Well, there was one or two coming in. They were studying at the Polytechnic, right? Yeah. And my dad used to have flats. Right. And they were putting extensions on the back, and he made a lot of money from that. And so imagine most kids would go to school and they would get the bus, or the mums would walk them to school. Yeah. We were getting taken to school in a Rolls Royce or a Bentley. Wow. Can you imagine that? Yeah. You know, I mean, I live in Ashbrook now. Right, round the corner from St. Aidan's School. I know times have changed now. Most kids drive themselves to school, but then, you know, back then in 75, 76, you didn't. So I used to say to my dad, didn't pull up outside the school, just pull up down here. While he embarrassed, I was embarrassed. You know, every other week, my dad used to have some of the best cars. That was his thing: Jaguars, Daimlers, XJX. You know, he had some hellish cars. And we would get taken to school in them cars, and I was sort of so embarrassed. But, so my dad had money, and people would say to me, how can you sing them songs, what you do, when your dad's flipping a capitalist? And I think Joe Strummer had a similar story. Right. His dad was a diplomat, you know, and he was singing rebellion sort of songs, you know. So he went sort of down the same way. But with me, I think was we were just our parents were so strict, and they basically made us. So I would be sitting upstairs in my room writing about how much I hated the world, how much I hated my parents, and everything. And then we had Thatcher's government on top of all that. You know what I mean? Stuff like This Is England, Revolution Times was written out of the anger us were living in, the frustration of them times, socially. You in-house, and then externally what was happening in the world, you know. Right. You know.
I don't want to jump forward so much, but did your dad eventually become used to doing what you're doing and take pride in you and that? Yeah.
So my mum brought us up, right? Basically, right? My mum brought us up.
Because your dad was busy earning the money.
My dad was out there grafting all day. My mother brought us up. There was four of us who brought us up, you know. And my mum's been in rebellion a few times. Right. You know what I mean? People say. So when Steve was alive, he used to take my mum to rebellion just to get her on the guest list or wherever, you know what I mean, or gigs. When was one time when we first got back together at Red London in 2019, we did a gig at the Museum Vaults, just to try the songs there before we went down there. And my mum rocked up to the gig. And they were like, "Make with Mrs. Smith." she got like flipping Queen Camilla sort of thing. And I was like, "What are you doing for God's sake?" It was absolutely packed. People jumping all over. That's my son. You know, so proud. Now, and like when Steve died, I didn't think my dad realised sort of like the place that Steve had been, the things he'd done with Red Alert, you know. And I didn't, even now. So now he's kind of like getting old and he's starting to come round. So the last time I was over there, he was getting like, been playing anywhere lately? He never used to ask that before. He fucking hated what we did. I mean, there was one time, we had a gig, when we were young, we had a gig down in Scarborough. And we were like, well, we have no wheels, so we're going to get there. We're not going to be able to play, blah, blah. And he lent us his van. And he was get strict about it. I'll lend you at this one time, but don't ask us again. You know, we were trying to put all the gear in. The back was full of cement and all sorts. And we were like, didn't dare take it out. We just, and then the van broke down in Scarborough. Something happened. It was like a diesel or something. I don't know if we ran out of petrol or needed a blade. Something really bad happened. I was shitting myself. There was no mobile phones then. Couldn't ring somebody to say, ringing home like flipping 12 o'clock at night. Mum and Dad's in bed. Mum, is my dad there? What's up? Like, oh, the van's broke down. Looks like we're stuck on the moors or something. Oh, man. When I look back, but we'll laugh about it now.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it sounds like, although because he did that, he obviously accepted it, but he was still playing the matriarch, still playing the strict father. But it's funny how kind of relationships.
Well, I tell you what? When I wrote my poetry book, so I wrote a book about say 6 years ago.
Gutter Rhymes. Yeah,
Gutter Rhymes. Like when I wrote that, right, with this other lad, and we had like a book opening, like a book night,
book launch. Yeah,
at the Bluebell upstairs, right. And my mother came and she was like, "Oh, this is my son." She came out for it. She always get proud, right? My sister and all that, right? And I think it was like a couple of days later, I went to my mum's, and my dad was like, "Hey, you wouldn't believe this." He says, "I was sitting in the club last night, Millview Club." He goes, and this fella, who says, "I've never seen him in my life." He just says, "Is anybody sitting near me?" Father was like, "No." And he was getting sharing a pint with me father, just gets talking to me door, and he says he just pulls his book out of his pocket, puts it on the table. He says, "Well, I recognise the book." He says, "So to the fella, he goes, where have you been?" He goes, "Oh, I've just been to a book lunch upstairs in the Bluebell. A couple of lads, local lads, have just wrote a poetry book." And my father, he was good. That's my son, that. So he must have been proud, but he never actually said. He would never like. He's not the type of person who would just come out with it in. Like, "I love you, you know, I'm really proud of you, blah, 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 keep it going." Whereas my mother does. My father's like very reserved sort of thing. But
so, which one are you? I say you're kind of in the middle, but probably a bit close to your ma. Are you know?
Well, I am in the middle. Yeah. Well,
you're not afraid to show your emotions, are you?
No, mate. I'm going to be honest with you, right? I wear my heart on my sleeve, right? And I'm very sensitive to a lot of things, right? If I was walking down the street and somebody said something, say somebody shouted something out of the car to me, right? I wouldn't tell them to F off, or I wouldn't retaliate. I'd probably just go home and regurgitate that, and it would like go around, and then I would say to my missus, "Yeah, somebody shouted something." She says, "Do I really look like that?" You know, if they shout, "Yeah, you skinny bastard," or wherever, and I'd say to missus, "Do you think I am skinny?" You know, I didn't, you know, I take a lot of things to heart, right? And I think one of the reasons why I've never been close to me dad is, one, he's never been interested in anything I've ever done. When I was younger, he never seemed interested. It was sort of like doing his own thing. Whereas my mother, she used to come when we played football. She used to come see us play when we were like, I don't know, school events. Yeah. You know, my mother was, so I didn't tag sides, but I think I'm probably Aaron more to my mother's side. I mean, you know? She understands me.
But it was a generational thing. It's a northern thing. That, you know, the mother was there, left to run the household, and you can see that. But we've touched on kind of when talk about like when we read London's first album, and that you know,
This Is England.
Yeah.
Well, that album. So them songs, right? So
was that 83, 84?
83, 84, right? Yeah. Them songs was like a build-up of, like, me and Kid Stalker was in the band at the time. Me and Kid. So at the time, you had me and Kid, Matty Foster, or Raish Carter even for a spell, and Alan Martin used to... but Alan Martin didn't have anything to do with the writing, neither did Raish. It was mainly me and Kid. It was like Strummer Jones, Jagger Richards, that sort of relationship, you know what I mean?
Hinge and Brad.
Aye. We knew each other inside out. Do you know what I mean? But like, say, two bodybuilders, sort of like, you're spotting somebody, you just know when he's had enough and he's going to flip and pass out, and you would take the weight off him. And that was me and Kid. Me and Kid could sit like we are now, then, and we would just look at each other, we could just read each other's mind. Social aspects of what was going on in our life. We just felt it was important that we wrote about that. So I used to write the lyrics and he would write the music, and that's how it came about. And that album, all them songs on that album was written by me and Kid. I don't know if there's any cover versions on that. I don't know, I can't remember. But me and Kid wrote that album. And that album, believe it or not, went down to London and we recorded that album in some studio in London. And I'm sure... that first album was on Razor Records. That's right.
Did you know the record company at the time?
No. We didn't know them. Basically, what happened was Attila the stockbroker he was John Opposition at the time. He was writing for Sounds. Okay. And we played a gig.
Didn't he get 5 out of 5 in Sounds? So got a good review in Sounds, didn't it?
So basically, what happened was Attila, Red Alert was playing all 29. Right, we were supporting them, right? Attila came to see Red Alert, right? Never been up to the Northeast. I didn't think he had a reason to come to the Northeast. And basically, what happened was, we were supporting them, and the review, what we got in Sounds in centre pages, was just amazing, right? And what he said was, he came to see this band called Red Alert, and he goes. And you very rarely see the headline and band get upstaged by the support band. Yeah. You know, especially in two brothers. One singing Red Alert, and this guy, Patti Smith, he's got a voice like Kevin Rowland out of Dexter's Midnight. That's what he said, right? Which I never saw it myself, but anyhow, basically, he took us into the back room, and he was like buzzing about us. And then the next thing, so Attila kind of managed the band for that period. I think it had something to do with the album. And then he got us, we went down to Elephant Castle, Wapping, and then we recorded this album down there, which was great. I mean, us were in Punk Lives, that magazine, Punk Lives. So there was a picture of us standing in this like cubbyhole in there. Gaz was in the band at the time, like he joined, Raish was still in. And then, so we were just there, and it was just, when you know about recording, you got to, we're talking about 40 odd years ago. Technology's not as good as it is now, you know what I mean? So if you made a mistake, well, you couldn't afford to make a mistake.
Tape on it.
You couldn't afford to make a bloody mistake then, you know what I mean?
With the label paying for it?
Label. Yeah. So what happened was, Robin Greatex from Razor Records, he had us, the Vapors, and he had the Newtown Neurotics on the label, right? And what happened was, we went to London. We went to London, and I got absolutely slaughtered. I mean, it was when I was younger, like, you know what I mean? And we were in Tin Pan Alley, and there was like, I don't know if the record company had something going on in a bar, but we were there, and because we were down there playing some gigs as well, with Attila. He was like promoting us, you know what I mean? With a gig at Cricklewood or somewhere like that. And that was like the first and very last time I ever drank beforehand, because I couldn't even fit and walk to the stage. I was just so drunk, And basically, that day, Bushell turned up, Gary Bushell, with a posse. It was a band called The Blood, and they used to wear good beards on them, Afghan coats with the arms ripped out. They looked like great monsters. And I'm sure Ian Stewart out of Screwdriver was there, and there was something happened that day. I can't remember if it was with Gaz, or I don't know if Attila got a slap, and he took a slap of Bushell because there was some argument or one or another. And here, what happened was, we done that, and then Razor Records, they would come to Newcastle for I think the Vapors at a gig somewhere, and he was coming up. So, and he rang me, and can remember there used to be a pub over the road in Newcastle train station called Yates's.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's I don't know what it's called now.
Yeah.
And he went in there, and so he rang me, and he goes, "Can you come to Newcastle right now? He's wanting to discuss some recordings in that way." And I said, "Well, I think the band should come through. Can it just have me to sing?" He goes, "Well, I only want to talk to you." But because he must have thought I was the leader, which I wasn't, because it was like, and it always has been our band, not one person, it's our band. And basically, I said to the guy, I says, so again, no mobile phones, just all telephones from the house sort of thing. And he was ringing from the pub. And I said to him, "So how will I know? Who are you?" I didn't even know where. He says, "I'll be the one sitting in the corner drinking a bottle of brown ale." And I thought, well, so will everybody. Do you know what I mean? And I walked, I'll never forget this, Kenny. I walked in that bar, right? And I was looking around. It was just full of old blokes, like, flat caps, neat teeth, smoking, flipping rollies and all that. Caps and full strength, it wasn't in days. And I looked, and I wasn't the guy from the record company who I recognised. It was Dave Greenfield. I think his name was Dave somebody singing the Vapors.
Aye.
I recognised him. He was sitting in the corner. He had a leopard skin drape on, like a teddy boy coat and leopard skin flipping sneakers. And I just thought, flipping hell, that's singing the Vapors. I was like in awe.
Aye.
And because I think somebody in the Jam, I was at the bass player Bruce Fox, and he managed them.
Right.
And I was like really drawn in by that sort of thing, And then the lads all rocked up and they discussed what we need to discuss, and like it was like the thought the brown ale was great. It was like they'd never had it in London before, So that's how that album came about. Our record company, Mad Butcher, have just re-released like our back catalogue. And that this is, people say to me that even now, This Is England was the best album that came out that year, the best album Red London's ever done. And I just think it was good, but I didn't think it was that good. I think we're writing better material now. Guys got in touch with me and he goes, "Let's get Red London back together. Or let's do a gig." Attila was coming up here to play a gig at the Museum Vaults. And he said, "I'd love Red London to support." And Gaz was like, "Impossible. Kid lives in Knaresborough. Nobody knows where Patty is." Because I've worked all over the shop. And, we got Matty's not interested, and the drumming and this, that, and the way. We just haven't got it. And Attila went, "Just approach Patty, regardless." And June Stoker, Gaz's wife, messaged us, because Gaz is not on Facebook. June Stoker messaged us on Facebook, "Gaz wants to speak to you." And straight away I went, "What about Red London?" Which I was hoping she was going to say, because I really was, because my missus is like, "Pat, you need to get back in that band." Every day she would say, we used to get to see bands all over the shop, and she was like, "That could be here, that could be here." And I was like, "Well, it's not, because we're kind of do it. Kid will not do it, so we're kind of do it." She was like, "Never mind about him, just do it. Speak to Gaz about it." And then all of a sudden, June gets in touch with us, and she was like, "Gaz wants to speak." And I was like, "Is it about a gig?" She goes, "Aye, I think." I says, "Well, give me number." And he rang us, and I goes, "Let's get..." I was so excited on the phone. I says, "Let's just get the band back together." He was like, whoa, access me B sort of thing. He says, "Let's just..." So went down to rehearsals. We only did 8 songs, but we got it together. And then within 2 weeks, Darren Russell asked us to play Rebellion. And I said to Gaz, "Let's get Red London back together." I says, "It feels right." I says, "All this time we've been starved of it. You've missed it. I've missed it. You're a kid." We even said to Kid, "Look, we know you didn't want to have no today because you're retired, but we're going to give you the ultimatum here, yes or no, to join us." He was like, "Red London's not Red London without me. You're just a tribute band. Blah, 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 blah." Red London was the real Red London when I was there. Was like, "Right, fuck you, pal." So basically, just got it on. And he just recently, and I hadn't spoken for years, he got in touch with us, and he just went... He wasn't like, "Hi, Patty, how you doing?" He just came straight out with it. He just went, "Apparently your Steve wrote a lot of songs before he died, and I wonder if you fancy doing a tribute for yourself, a solo of some of Steve's lyrics." And I went, "Not interested." I says, "I'm not interested, and I'll tell you why. He was never there. Kid Stoker was never involved when Steve was alive, so why are you jumping on the fucking bandwagon now? This fucking martyr sort of business." I says, I paid my tribute.
Yeah.
Our new album, the acoustic album, the first track is Legends Never Die. I wrote that about Steve. I wrote the lyrics about Steve, and the lads put the music. I said, we're doing a Red Alert song, Long Night in Long Island, the acoustic, that's my tribute. He says, I thought you might be interested. I said, no, mate, I'm not interested in you or anything like that. And then I messaged Kathy, and I just said to Kath, Steve's lass, I went, do you know, Keith Stoker's trying to do something with Steve's songs or something? She goes, yes, I agreed it. I says, all right. I says, I'm not interested. I wrote her out, just says, Keith Stoker can fuck off as far as I'm concerned. Because he said some really nasty things about Red London, where Gaz is like me. He's really protective over the band. Yeah. Kidding Gaz, I don't know what was said, but all I know is June, Gaz's wife, said to me, took Gaz about an hour to calm down. He went fucking off his rocker about things what was said. So there's a lot of resentment now. Right.
But why did you initially, you said the pressure when you initially left the band and Steve and Raish took over on vocals for a bit, didn't he?
I basically, what happened was, at the time, right, so when I was younger, all I ever wanted to do, smash Europe, shag loads of birds, take loads of drugs. So don't try this at home. It's just me at the time. And do all them things. And I felt I'd done it. I went to France. I did everything I set out to do. I don't know. I got a lot of stick at the time from the lads. He thinks he's a pop star. Thinks he's signed somebody in Duran and all this. That was the stick I got, right? But I was married to somebody who was like 12 years older than me, who didn't like us going away, didn't like us being with a band. And the times I had to take a worries. And that put a right block on it for the lads. It's not like anything happens when you're away, but the lads just didn't want. So, I was saying to the lads, I can't go unless she goes, and that was putting a lot of pressure on the lads. And so basically, I got to the stage where I was getting pressure off them, I was getting pressure off her, I was off work all the time. My bosses were saying to us, you're a good grafter, we've got a great future for you. I'd used all my holidays up. If I took any time off, I just wasn't getting paid, and it was just like pressure. And it just got to the stage where I just thought, I can't do this anymore. So I just quit. And when it all came on top of us was, we had a gig in Milan, and we flew into Italy, and on the way back, we did the gig. I didn't tell her that I was going to Milan. I told her that I was going to do a gig in London. Right? And I thought I could get away with this, right? I would have, had there not been a flipping baggage strike in Milan airport. So we all came back with no luggage. Then all of a sudden, one day when I was at work, I came home from work, she goes, did you enjoy yourself in London? This was like the Tuesday, right? Did you enjoy yourself in London at the weekend? I was class. What did you do? I was just some cock and bull story, right? As you do. And she goes, so you might explain this and Pat. Wheeled the flipping case out with Milan airport stickers all over. And I goes, I fair cop. So that was it. Basically, I got hoid out. And
was that
rest is history. The rest is history.
So obviously you've always been a grafter as well, and still doing it now, and probably sacrificed stuff for work. And
well, I mean, it's a lot better now, because now I didn't work.
You're not working for the man, are you?
I didn't work for the man. I work for myself now. And basically, when I was sort of like working for the man, I was have to put holidays in and time and all this, and I was kind of restricted. Man, it was just like conflict all the time. You know what I mean? I was like planning things in my head, how we're going to do this, how we're going to do that. And now that sort of like pain has been lifted, you could say. And now I just work for myself. So if we have a tour, we are going on tour. You know what I mean? I'm definitely going. You know what I mean? So let's just say we got this gig in Glouspitz in July, and I've said to the guys, get the flight booked. I'm definitely on that flight. Do you know what I mean? We've got like next year in 2025, we're playing at the Great Skinhead Reunion in Blackpool. Right. Get me a train ticket. I'm not bothered. What's happening on that day? I'm going to Brighton. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, do you know what, Kenny? When I go on stage now, I always say to the audience, I never thought I'd be doing this when I'm 62. Right. But I just never wanted to end. Yeah. I do. I feel more confident, and I've got the bigger picture now than I ever saw when I was younger. So, like, there's loads of like restrictions being lifted. It's like Gaz will sort out all the flights, and he does what he needs to do. You know, and we've just got the camaraderie in Red London. It's just unbelievable. Even Scott, when he came back, I'm pointing out because he always stands there. Scott, he loosens right up when he's pissed. When he's had a few drinks, and he loosened right up in Frankfurt a few weeks ago, and he just said, he goes, what he loves about Red London now is just how close we are. Yeah. We're like a little family. We just have a laugh together. We just enjoy each other's company, and we're just like everything. Everybody's writing the songs now. Yeah. It's not like just me and somebody else. John, the drummer, he writes most of the songs. He pissed all the time. You can't even remember what he's wrote. But it works. And do you know what, Kenny? If we haven't seen each other for 6 weeks, it's almost like we're flipping pine for each other. Yeah. When we went on tour, it was great the first few days. But after a couple of a week or something, start getting on there. People get on, you get on each other's wick sort of thing, and it's good to get on. But when we come in here, this is when the magic happens, and we get on that stage. So let's say the last gig we played, we only had 2 rehearsals before, which was very unlike us. We normally are it all the time in here. We only had 2 rehearsals, and we went on stage and just fucking did what we did, you know. I mean, classic you. Got your mojo and you know, from an outsider seeing quite a mixed band in terms of ages gel like that. You know, obviously there's so much respect going both ways. Absolutely,
and you know, you probably couldn't do it without dragging some younger ones in, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, Mency once said to me when he was alive, he says, well, I wasn't in Red London at the time, but it's like I was saying earlier on, I knew Mency before he was in the Angelic Upstart. Yeah. Right, I've known Mency for a long time, right? And when I wasn't in the band, some mates on Facebook, I used to see him in the street or wherever. We always used to have a big crack on and we'll have a pint or wherever. And he would say to us, "Do you not miss the music part?" And I was get, and he was get, well, get back into it. And Mickey Giggers out of Rejects used to say the same thing, and Jeff Turner, they used to say, "Get Red London back together. We fucking need guys like you." That's what they used to say to us. And I was like, why they saying that to me? Who am I? I'm just somebody on the fucking streets of Sunderland. I didn't mean much to anybody. But Mentor used to say to me, if Kid Stutter's not going to do it, get Mr. Gaz to sort it out and get some young'uns in, like you Steve did with getting the Jonesy boys in, Red Alert, you know what I mean? All right, Tut was gone, couldn't do nothing about that. And Gaz Stewart probably wasn't interested, right? So he got Mick and Dave in. And then that spiced that up. And then like Gaz did with the Upstarts, you got Andy Wilkinson in on the drums, and they got other people. And if you think about it, look at the UK Subs. Yeah. Strani, you know, he's just a young'un, flipping, I don't know how he's on the drums. Alvin, but all right, so everybody's probably older, but Strani got that job and he's making it happen, you know what I mean? So you're right, get somebody younger.
I remember when we took over the bunker 20 years ago and there was, years were coming in, the Rejects would come up and come in, but it seemed at the time, because the young'uns weren't getting involved in it, it seemed like, right, this is going to see its day at some point. It was a bit like Northern Soul. These people are going to be too old, there's no young'uns coming through, but now there's a massive renaissance, I think, since COVID. All the old bands getting back together, young bands come. It's probably, you know, in my time, which is obviously a lot shorter, it probably seems like that the scene's at its best in terms of like people are going back to out to gigs, the drinking, whatever. How does it compare to you now, the kind of thing?
Do you know what,
with your clean lifestyle as well?
Yeah,
you know?
Well, look at it like this, right? So when I was young, there was no Facebook. There was no social media. I didn't even know if there was flipping internet. You know, maybe it's the walls. I mean, I'm not sounding like Jurassic. There was no mobile phones. There was no TikTok. There was no. So then it was really hard. when people say to me, fucking hell, Red London did this, Red London did that, Red Alert, the upstarts, yous were like the pioneers, yous were out there actually doing graft and blah, blah, blah. And you had the bands like the Rejects. Nobody. They were like up here, we were down there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So now we're doing gigs, like this year, last year, we're doing gigs with the Rejects, with these Anti-Nowhere League, with like these guys, like who we looked up to when we were kids. I just think either that scene hasn't moved on, but we have.
Yeah.
We've sort of like went from there and then came up there, or is it because we've worked so hard? People have sort of thought like, fucking hell, get that band Red London on, they're good, and put them on that stage.
Well,
so if
probably
you
a bit of both, eh?
So like last year we played, so February we played Derby, Hairy Dog, Dave I March, right?
Yeah.
He's like a local lad from Newcastle, but he lives in Derby. Then, so that was February. March we played at Scarborough Punk Festival. It was like all them bands who I've just mentioned earlier on. They were on the bill, right? April we played at Scotland Carlin, right? There was like Dirtbox Disco, Hung Like Hanratty, freaking Anti-Nowhere League, bloody the Rejects, you know, all them sort of bands, right? Then there was, then we went on tour in Germany. The first gig we played on that tour was at Punk and Disorderly, one of the biggest, probably the second biggest festival in the world, because if you see a Rebellion, could be the biggest. Yeah. We're supporting Cock Sparrow. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They're in the next dressing room to us. So we were like third on the bill. So like there was Cock Sparrow, GBH, then Red London. I mean, fucking hell, that's like, you know, Gaz always says, we need to be on the money. I'm going to be on the money. I've done years. I can't speak for years. But people say to me, fucking hell, you must have been shitting yourself. What instead? Sober. Gaz says to me, Pat, he says, I couldn't do what you do. Sober. He says, I've got to have a drink. Yeah. Kenny, there's been times when we opened, not last year or the year before it was, we opened at Rebellion at 12 o'clock. We opened the entire show, right? Yeah. We went on stage at 11:30. There was 2,000 people in there at 11:30, right? It was too early for everybody to have a drink. Gaz and John had a brown paper bag with a freaking bottle of whiskey, something like that. Gaz said to me, couldn't have went on stage without the drink. He says, I just couldn't do it. Yeah. He says, so how the flipping hell you do it? I mean, and then this year, met Colin McFall, personally, the singer in Cock Sparrow, because it was like Steve's memorial. Got me photographed to him. So, I don't know, when us were doing stuff then, it was really hard graft, and we were like going out there and doing what we do. And now, I'm not saying it's easier, but I think social media's got a lot to do with it. Yeah. Lifted our profile.
But now do you feel as if you can enjoy it more
absolutely.
now?
Now I'm older, I feel more relaxed. And I think, Kenny, because I'm a teacher, and I'm teaching young kids all the time, and I'm supporting their needs. I'm like mommy, daddy, auntie, uncle, you name it, I play all their hats, right? And I feel that because of the sort of person who I am, I'm very open, like, if you haven't got a pound and I have, and you know, I would just give you it. Aye. You know? And sort of thing, I don't know, I think it's because of the teaching. That, I don't know, just like, it gives me the, I don't know, like, the confidence to walk on stage in front of so many people and just deliver, you know, and say the things. The guy said to me, just the other way, he goes, hey, Savvy. So when we played in Frankfurt, somebody recorded it on his phone. And it's quite good. Yeah. And I just said, I wish it had been recorded. Something else we could have brought that out. Because the patter on the thing. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't like listening to my own voice, believe it or not, right? On record, right? I never listened to that. Yeah. And I never listened to myself when we do a gig. But Gas says, here, guys, there was one really funny thing. He says, you were on about the merch to somebody. It's like I'm having a conversation with you now, but I'm like this with the audience, like 500 people or something, you know? And he goes... And you see two things. All I want for Christmas is a skinhead girl. And there's loads of them there, right? I didn't even remember seeing it. And he says, you try to sell the merch, right? And you're saying to them, you know, on your Christmas stocking, it should be a Red London Stay Day with the chocolate money and the tangerines and you also need me in that Christmas stocking with you in your fishnets on. I'm like, did I really say that, you skid? Do you know when I'm on stage, it's like I become a different person.
Aye.
You know what I mean? Sometimes if I think, if I start thinking about who I really am and where I'm doing now, I will probably get stage fright and just walk off. But I don't know. It's like I put another hat on, I become a different person.
Yeah.
So I just feel more confident and like I feel more comfortable in myself. You know.
Well, I say it all the time. We have parents coming and bring the kids in for first lesson, and they go like, "Oh, he's a bit shy, but he's different when he's playing his guitar." And or he's like, he's got his issues. I go, look, we all have. We're all a bit split personality because you kind of gone around like you do on stage all the time, can you?
Well, true. People think there's something wrong with you.
But what I want to touch on you is obviously you've been an inspiration to many people, not locally, but obviously around the world. But tell us a little bit about your loving relationship with Mr. Barry Hyde.
Oh, well.
Do
you know
so I remember when you you told us, I went in and he came up and told us, and funny enough, I think the week before, he told me the same story, so I've watched it from afar.
I can't remember, what did I say, like?
You'd gone into the Peacock, and he'd come over and said hello to you, and you were like, really, Barry Hyde's come up, you were overwhelmed. Right. And he told us, funny enough, he'd come in here and we were chatting with Barry, known Barry for years, and he loved him, and he was saying, Patty was in the other week, and I shouted him over. So I'd heard it from both sides, and since then, you've obviously, grown closer.
Red Alert were playing at the Peacock. I think Red London, Red Alert, and there was a few other bands playing. I think it was probably one of the last times I seen our boy. Anyway, so we were standing. Me and Steve were just standing upstairs in the Peacock, and I goes, "Oh, look, there's Barry Hyde." I says, "Do you know the Future Heads?" And he went, "Aye." I says, "Do you like them?" He goes, "Just another band, aren't they?" That was our Steve, just another band. I says, but he's not the singer. He says, "What do you mean?" I says, "Well, I've seen some videos of him." I says, "He's like right cut above the rest." And he went, "Well, we could all say that about ourselves. Look at the things we've done." I says, "Aye, well," I says, "but he's younger than us, and he's probably got more chances of doing better things." And old Steve looked at me and goes, "Here, man, I've been all over the fucking world, son. Didn't tell me about this." I was getting IRA. And I goes, "Shall we shout him out?" And he goes, I said, "Oh, shall we go and see him?" And he goes, "Sure enough." And he was like, he was just so humble. I just kind of get over it the way he goes on. He was like, shakes our hands. He was almost bowing. Yeah. I was embarrassed. And he still does it now. "Hello, sir. How are you doing?" You know, he's just so nice, you know. And I don't know. I was Steve, off his fucking nut pissed. Probably just went straight over his head. Yeah. And I said about, "This is Steve, me brother, blah, 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 singing Red Alert." He says, "Yes, I know you are." He says, "I've heard your records, blah, 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 blah." And then we just go on talking. I didn't even know what we're talking about. And then he was like, "Can I buy you a pint?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't drink." "No, I'll have a half then." And then I was still, "I'll have a pint." And then, that sort of thing. Right. And then basically, we're out in walls. We're just, I don't know, that neat. We're like best mates, even though we'd only just married each other. I'll never forget, right? I remember I had my Harris Tweed. It was a Harris Tweed coat on, right? Yeah. And somebody wanted a photograph of us, and I thought I'd take the coat off, and the bar was just soaking wet of beer, and I thought, where am I going to put this? Don't stand with me. Barry goes, "I'll hold your coat." And I looked and I went, "You?" He goes, "Yes, why not?" And I went, "All right then." And he was standing holding me coat, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, you know. Anyhow, I just started thinking that. That night I went to him and I said to my missus, "You're not going to believe what I've just met tonight." And she loves the Future Heads. Oh, mate, honest to God. It's all she ever plays when she's doing the hoovering or doing the garden. The music's blasting and you're even in the garden. And I goes home and I goes, "You never guess who I've just met." She goes, "Who?" I goes, "Barry Hyde." She goes, "Future Heads." She was like, "Really?" I was get high. She goes, "What's that?" I goes, "He's lovely." I says, "Honestly, he's really, really nice." Anyway, shortly after that, I think we came in, he was for rehearsing, and Gaz went, "Fucking hell, is he your best mate?" I went, "Who?" He goes, "Barry Hyde." I goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, it was like, fuck everybody else. It was just you and him." I goes, "Well, he's just a really nice lad." Gaz, I says, "And I think we should all get to know him." I says, "Because You know, he does what he does, we do what we do. I'm sure we could do something together, you know? And then it was kind of like, we became mates. Me and Barry became mates on Facey. Then he gave us his number. Then, like, he said, have you heard this? We'll just share music.
Yeah.
Each other's music, you know what I mean? And we're just talking about Sunderland, and he was telling us about when he used to knock around with Mr. Dillon's kid, and all this, where he lives, telling us about his parents and all this. And one day I says to him, do you like pheasant, birds and stuff like that? And he was getting like, why? I was getting like, oh, one of the kids who I teach has just brought loads of frozen pheasants in, and they've been skiing and they're just ready to eat. He went, oh yes. And I met him, went down, and I gave him the birds, and he was absolutely over the moon. He was like, what can I give you? I was getting absolutely nothing. And then we were going to shoot the video for Cut From a Different Cloth, and somebody had suggested, why don't we not do it live in the Peacock? You speak to Barry about it. So I did, but they had a gig in Manchester. The Future Aids had a gig because Barry was supposed to play a cameo in the video. He says, I'm a good barman. And I was like, whatever. And he couldn't. So basically what happened was, when we got there on the Sunday, we were all like gear. Was his girlfriend, there was his wife. What's it called? Cindy. I walked in and she goes, you must be Patty, are you? I goes, aye. She goes, Barry says, he apologised, you can't be here. Had a gig, I think he'd come down with COVID or something. And she goes, this is for you. And put this massive bucket, like a little bath, on the bar, full of ice, just full of bottles. And I was getting, I can't take it. She goes, no. Barry wants you to have it. It's these, like, I says, all right then. But so I just gave it to the lads, do you know what I mean? And then, like, he rang us the next day to make sure it happened, worked out, and I was getting, everything's good, blah, blah, blah. And then, I think it was like last summer, I was fishing, and Gaz said, why don't we not record the acoustic album somewhere else other than the bunker? And I went, like, where? And he goes, well, I don't know, where do you think? Just to get a different feel, a different sound. And I went, well, let's go to Birdland. I said, I speak to Barry about it. And, like, I just rang him and I just says, would you like to engineer or produce Red London's new album, the acoustic album, and you can play on any song you want. You can sing with me. You do anything you want. I'm giving you the free rein. Just tell us what you want to do. Yeah. And then the next thing, we're in there. And basically, I'd said how much is it going to cost for us to record in it, because our record company will be paying for it. He was get to you absolutely nothing. So recorded a full day in there for free. And I goes, well, how much would it? He goes, I'm going to be honest with you, I normally didn't have other bands in here. Yeah. He says, you're the first. I think Slalom D had been in there. I don't know. And he just went, I didn't like to make a habit of this. He goes, because it's like for me students, which I understand. Yeah. I didn't want to like invade his privacy and that. But funny thing, when we got in that studio, I said to him, I says, I know this room up inside out. He was like, how? I says, I used to be married to a lass, the Ties, who had the Londonderry. Right. And the lass who I was married to used to live in there. Right. I says, and so this was the living room, this was about all that had been knocked out. It was just the entire studio. It was just hellish. And we just became really, really good mates, you know. Like the gig on me, we went there on me 67. It was the best birthday present. I was so embarrassed. You know, like, this one's for Patty. Oh, so like the beginning of the twist, he knows that's my favourite song. And he just went, this is for Patty. And everybody must have been thinking, who's this fucking Patty? It was just so... But I suppose I haven't spoken to him for ages. The last time I spoke to Barry was just before Christmas. Cause, right, so when we did that album, the last album, Andy Wilkinson shot a video of us. So there's a scene where everybody's sitting playing in the Peacock, and then we're playing pool. There's a scene, Barry's playing Long Night in Long Island on the piano, and we're all standing around the piano. And then there's another scene where I'm like walking out from High Street into the Peacock, and everybody's standing there with pints, and then somebody hands me a pint of Guinness. And so there's a lot of footage going on in there. And basically, I just spoke to Barry just before Christmas, and I just said, I've got a copy of our new album for you. I've got a Christmas card, which I still didn't give him. and the video is going to be released soon. You'll have a copy of that. And this just says all the best. And I said to him, is there any chance we can organise a gig for the summer this year, like a punk festival at the Peacock, like a 2-day job, Friday or Saturday or Sunday or something. And he was getting but I haven't been able to track him down because, and when the kids is off school, he's just all about the kids, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he always says, just, Pat, man, I've got no life. Since I got married, I've got to stop being out now. And I was like, well, fair enough. And do you know what? Every party we have, we always have parties around my house, like Icon Towers, it's called.
Yes, the back garden ones and that.
Aye. Well, we record everything, right? And like we get the acoustics out, and people fill them up, and we play new material, whatever. He's been invited to every one, and he's always said he's going to come. And everyone's getting excited. Barry Hyde's coming by. We'll get him to play this. You know, he's never ever turned up. Really disappointing. And he keeps apologising. And I said, bring you a lass. Bring the bands. For God's sake. But
he's a busy man. But it's lovely that, you know, how that relationship's blossomed, and to see how, you know, different ends of the punk spectrum, how it's influenced it.
Loads,
I could talk you all day.
Aye, all be late.
But it's getting on.
Exactly. I'm going to talk for it.
It's been an absolute pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Aye, great.
Patty Smith.
Cheers. Thank you.